Hi everyone, Holly here. What are we doing tonight? Okay, what we're doing tonight is lettering and all things pertaining to lettering in the Silhouette Cameo software. I'll go through each of the softwares in different videos so you can see a little bit of what each of the softwares will do with lettering. The Silhouette Cameo software is very powerful, easy to use, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that work really well in here, and a couple of things that I found that don't work so well that I'm a little disappointed in. One is nesting. When you try to use, hi Eileen, when you try to use a lot of words to do subway art, it takes a very long time to process, like minutes, a lot of minutes, and that's not, to me, acceptable. But there are other ways to do subway art, and we can cover those in other videos. But for today, we're going to do an overview of lettering and why you might want to use lettering in your designs. Okay, if you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments and I'll try and get to them, because lettering is kind of a really popular topic for most people. They're always like, how can I do lettering? How can I put lettering in? I want to put happy birthday around this whatever it is, or Merry Christmas around the truck with a tree in it, or whatever. Everybody wants to do lettering. So there are some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that I think might help you with lettering and your cut designs, or even your sketching designs in the Cameo. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the software, and I'm just going to talk to you about lettering and kind of see where it takes us. You all know that I don't have a script when I teach. I haven't in my brain what I want to teach and where I want to go with it, but I don't use a script because I like to go wherever the video takes me. I know most people don't teach this way, but I do. So that said, let's jump on over into the software. So, okay, for lettering, basically, let me just very quickly go over the surface of the software, because we're going to be using several things in the software, and I want you to be kind of familiar with where things are. The first thing is this: make new document, open something, save something, print something. Pretty straightforward. Cut, copy, and paste. Pretty easy. Undo, redo, and undo. I think that's undo, multiple undo, so you can choose a whole bunch of things to undo. I never use that. And then, as you can see, the things pop up underneath it. Select all, and then you have deselect all, and select by color. So you have a lot of neat features. Zoom in, zoom out. You can drag over a shape to zoom it. I never use that. You can zoom in and out using the mouse. I never do that. You might do that. You can pan using the mouse. Again, I don't do that. I use a pen, so I really don't do that. And then this one is fit to window. So if you're working on a design and you have yourself, zoomed in like this, and you're working on some little spot, you can just say, you know what, fit this to the window, and that pops that back. So again, if you're zooming in to work on something, you can just get yourself back down to the original spot and see what's happening with your design. Now, the one thing that the software doesn't have that is disappointing to me, and I haven't seen a cut software have this, I could be wrong about that, sure Cuts a Lot might, but the one thing is, in digitizing software, you can zoom to a specific percentage, like 200 or 400%, and always work at that, so you always know what things look like, and you get a really good idea of whether you're on the money or not on the money. This software doesn't have that, so just beware if you're looking for that. Okay, now we have design and store. This is Silhouette Store for designs. Library. Lots of people store their things in the library. I started out doing this and quickly realized that if I don't have an internet connection, I can't get to my designs. So I didn't like that at all. If you buy things from the Silhouette Store, they automatically go into your library. However, you can save them out to your hard drive. So that's probably another video. And then the send button, where we were the other night. These are the page properties. And then these are PicScan for scanning properties. colors for areas, colors for lines, the tracing window, image effects. You can do all kinds of different things with images. And this is text. And then this is a font creator. You can create your own fonts. Now, I haven't done a lot of this, but I will do some, and we'll cover that at another time. And then we have alignment tools, your typical, left justify, right justify, center, top justify, bottom justify, center justify, horizontal spacing, vertical spacing. These are all things you use a lot with lettering. Then, of course, we have the duplicate windows. You can duplicate that way, or you can duplicate that way, or up or down. I don't use the duplicate a lot, but I can see where it would probably come in handy. And then your mirroring, and then rotating. You can rotate copies on top of copies on top of copies. And there are some times when that really is a useful feature. Maybe you want to make flowers and that's useful. Then we have our modify. We can weld things together, kind of like merge. You can subtract all, kind of like create a void. You can divide it, kind of like divide with a line. You can subtract, kind of like remove everything instead of dividing with a curve or something. And then make and release compound paths. I'm going to talk in a minute about compound paths. Then we have offsets, which come in very, very handy for really thin fonts. If you have a really, really thin font, it'll cut, but it may not weed well for you, and you may not be able to get it off the paper onto the transfer tape very easily. So we use an offset for that. And then we have a pop-up card feature, and then rhinestone or stippling. Oh, sorry, that's stippling. And you can do all kinds of fills and different things with your curio if you have it. And then this one is embossing. We can do all kinds of cool embossing things with the new embossing tools. And we can make a puzzle. So if you have a picture that you bring in and you want to bring it in here and make a puzzle, like maybe you have a picture of Grandma and Grandpa and you want to make a puzzle for the kids that are, in California and you're in Texas. You want to make a puzzle, you can use that feature to do that. And then some added features. Now, these are all features of the business edition. And let me just say, if you have the original Silhouette software that comes free with the Silhouette Cameo, I highly recommend, if you want to make your own designs, I highly recommend you just bite the bullet and go for the business edition. It's about $100, way cheaper than other software for other hobbies, and you will have all the features and be able to do really anything you want to do. If you just want to use SVG files from my site or someone else's site, then the designer edition is necessary. You can't do it with the standard version, but the designer edition, which I think is about $25, you can do it. But if you want to do any of your designs at all and be creative on your own, get the business edition, because I promise you, after you do a little bit, you're just going to upgrade anyway, and it's going to cost you more. So just go for it. And I did all of my upgrades through swingdesign.com, swingdesign.com. I don't get anything if you go over there and buy. Someday I may have an affiliate with them, but I do not now. So I'm just telling you where the best place to buy is. Okay, so back to the software. So all of these features, you have a nesting feature, and then, you have a line effects panel, and you can change your sketching. These are recommended for sketching and etching projects. And then this is your rhinestones. You can set the size of your rhinestones here and the spacing of your rhinestones, place them freehand, do all kinds of cool things with rhinestones. You have layers. I don't use layers a lot, but I know some people do. And then this is really cool. This is the warp panel. And what you have in here, and we're going to use this, is the conical wrap. Conical warp, they call it, selected for selected shapes. Here you can take a glass and measure the top diameter and the bottom diameter and make your exact shape of the glass. So when you put your design on there, it's going to give it that wrap and it's going to fit on there perfectly without any bubbling. I know that scanning the Brother software and Cricut software don't have this, but the Cameo does. This is a really cool feature. We're going to use that in later lessons. And then we have the media layout where we can smush things up together and get lots of copies on one page, and we can mirror image things and tile things and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really cool features in this software that that I really like. Go away. Okay, all right, now you'll go away. Okay, so over here you have your regular pointer arrow and your lasso, which you can grab things. Your node edit, which none of the other softwares, Cricut or Brother, have. Your line tool, you can make different types of lines: circle, square, diamond, and then a whole bunch of a bunch of library here of a bunch of shapes. Wow, that didn't sound right. A library with a bunch of shapes. Your pen tool, so you can draw freehand. Never been really successful with this, but I'm still trying. Your text tool, and this is a cool feature. You can add a note to a design you're making. So say you are doing a design for a customer. You have a custom design business and you're doing a logo for a customer. And they want to know what font you use because they want to brand their company to that font. Okay? You can put a note in here and say, I use this font. And that note carries with your design to your customer. I use it for instructions on how to do a particular design. Like I'll put instructions for layering a design in there, or instructions for making the luminary boxes, what you do and how you fold them and everything. That's what I use this note field for. It's really, really handy. This is a quick overview. I'm not going through everything. Eraser tool, the knife tool, which is an absolutely amazing tool. We will cover that in later videos. And then an eyedropper. And of course you have all kinds of things here. You have your fill color, your line color, the weight of your line and type of your line here. Different things you can do with your lines. I'm not even familiar with what that does. That's cool. Fonts, quick select for fonts, quick sizing for fonts, bold, italic, underline, and then centering. Then you have groups and regroups, and then you have bring to front, send to back, and then this one is bring forward, send backward. You have your, when you have things on the screen, you have your modify right here and your offset. And this one I'm not sure what it is, and that one is a X, which closes something. So that basically is your screen and the orientation of your screen. Now, are you going to remember all that? No. Would I expect you to? No. Why? Because I don't. I don't worry about it. If I hover over something, it's going to tell me what it is. Look at that. It's a delete. Hey, look at that. That's a duplicate. I don't have to remember everything. Most softwares are like that, so don't freak out if you don't know the icons. It'll be fine. Hey, Lynn, how are you doing? Hi, Kathy. Lenora. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Can't work this goofy thing. Okay, so let's do some lettering in the Cameo software. Now, one thing I have figured out is I haven't been able to really get rid of this very easily once I get it on the screen. I wonder if I lasso it, if I can delete it. No, I can't. Okay, whatever. We'll just kind of leave that over there out of the way so it doesn't bother me. Okay. All right, it's all good. It's all good. I haven't figured out how to make that go away once I get it on the screen. Okay, lettering is truly as easy as typing. So let's just type something. One thing I do wish is that this letter A for text was over next to this one for the text style. Because those of you that know me from embroidery and from embroidery digitizing, I like to be really efficient. I like to be able to be in the same place and not be running across the screen. So that's one thing that I don't like. Okay, and we're going to choose a text style. I'll click on the screen, and then let's type, I'll just type my name. How about that? So now this guy here, you can stretch this, so if you want to add more text, you can just stretch it. Notice the flashing cursor on here. I can now just select that, left click and drag and select that. And what I'm going to do is make this really big so y'all can actually see what I'm doing. Wow, that didn't work. Well, here's how you do this. Cool, huh? Let's drop it down again and make it really big. And then see how my cursor changes to the little arrow? Just stretch it out until it gets to be the size you want. Now you can just hit escape and that gives you back your pointer. which makes it easy because I use a Wacom tablet and I have programmable keys on the side. So I can just have my left hand over on those keys and my right hand working, and it's really, really kind of cool and efficient. So if I double click on the lettering, I can highlight it all. At this point, I can change the font. Let's make it colorful so you can easily see it. I can change the font to pretty much whatever I like. I have lots of fonts in here that I actually purchased. You can get free fonts from lots of places. Be careful with free fonts. I'll just say be careful with free fonts. Make sure of your copyright. I have all kinds of fonts in here. Some of them are script. Some of them are, let's use this one, the College Block. I'm going to use this one because I'm going to do something with this. Okay, so you can just change your fonts with, a little click of a mouse. Now, once I have this font done, I have it the way I like it. To me, this looks like too much space, even though it's judging the space from this serif to this serif. To me, that looks like it's too much space. But once I'm done editing and playing with my font, I will then do my centering and lining up. They have something called kerning. If I select my font, I think I might be able to just do that. Maybe not. See how it all is kind of moving together? But I still don't like this space here, so I'll fix that later. What we want to do is, what can we do with fonts? Okay, that was how you made a basic font. I'm going to take this and put it over there because I'm going to use that later. But how about we type something and I show you a couple of the features that the fonts will do. How about we type Happy Valentine's? Maybe I should spell it right. Happy Valentine's Day. And just for giggles, I really should spell it right, huh? Just for giggles, let's say we want to make a sticker, a round sticker that says Happy Valentine's Day with a heart in the middle to put on all of the Valentines that go to school with your kids. Do they still do that? I don't know if they still do that, but let's pretend we are, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on my writing. And I'm going to make sure that this is the font that I want, first of all. And I'll just scroll down through this line here. I have some of my favorites. Let's use Christmas Present. And let's make it bigger. You can change the number up here and you don't have to use the presets. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now we have Valentine's Day. Let's make it red just because, again, I'm a visual person. I like things to be visual. All right, now, I would use a heart, except that, think about a heart shape. It comes down to a point. I would use a heart, and this lettering will go around that heart beautifully, except you won't be able to read it. Because when it gets down to the point, everything gets all smooshed in together. And to get it to spread out nicely you can do it, but it just takes a tremendous amount of work, and I don't want to take the time to do that in the video. So I'm going to show you how to get something to path, and then y'all can play with a heart if you want to play with a heart, because the process is the same regardless. Okay, so let's go over here to our shapes and take the circle. If you hold the Control key down, the Shift key, you get a perfect circle. Okay, so say we want that to be maybe that big. We might have to make it bigger. Now, I'm going to double click on my lettering. And this little plus sign here does a lot of cool things. When I bring it down here, watch what happens when I touch the line. How cool is that? Isn't that just the coolest thing? Okay, so now I'm going to go all the way around. And this needs to be bigger because it's not fitting all the way around our circle. So I'm going to say, let's try 98. No. Let's try 120, and that looks pretty good, actually. Kind of liking that. Okay, so we've got a Happy Valentine's Day around our circle. But I don't like the orientation, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do Happy on the top and Valentine's Day. Now, I can space this if I want to, but I only want to bring it a little closer. The reason is, right here, the P doesn't touch, and this is a script, and I want to make this together so it cuts as one piece. So I'm going to do my character spacing. Oops. That's better. Okay, I want to make sure everything is touching within each word. So I want Happy to all touch, Valentine's, apostrophe S doesn't touch, and Day to all touch. Okay, it looks like they are, so let's make this a little bigger. Kind of weird to select the circle around the text. Okay, this I can live with. Everything is touching. Let's maybe do it like that. Happy Valentine's Day. So now we have a circle with Happy Valentine's Day. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup my lettering. Notice how all these little boxes come up. I'm going to ungroup my lettering, and I'm going to select each word on its own. And when I do that, what I want to happen is if this letter is here and there's a little serif coming over from like the P to the H, I want these to be connected. I don't want anything to cut in between these, if that makes sense. So I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to do something called welding. Okay, so I've got Happy, and I'm going to go over to this Modify menu, and I'm going to, now watch the word. Don't watch what I'm doing. Look right here. I'm welding, so watch the word. Now you see what happens. This moves as one word, and it's all together, and it's going to cut as one word with no cut lines in between these letters. Cool, huh? I'm going to select Valentine, but not the apostrophe and not the S because they're not connected. And I'm going to weld them. Okay? The V didn't have to be in there either. And then we'll select Day and weld them. The day wasn't connected. The D wasn't connected either. Okay, so now we have Happy Valentine's Day. All welded, all ready to go. But one thing you do need to know in Silhouette software, I don't know if this is true in other softwares like Sure Cuts a Lot, but when you have lettering and you have a font that maybe you purchased with the rights to make designs and sell those designs, you need to make it into a compound path. Okay, so now you're saying, what's a compound path? A compound path, you might think compound path looks like grouping. Grouping takes two things, and no matter where they are, they could be anywhere they are. If you select them and group them, that's where they're going to stay, just like that. Okay? Compound path is a little bit different. It's like a super grouping is the only way I can think of it. If you have the letter A, okay, you have the letter A, like this. You have the outside lines, and then you have the little triangle in the middle. You can group that, but then it's not really together. But if you make it a compound path, now it becomes one, and it can't be separated unless you release that compound path. Now, in most softwares, you can't do that. So if you want to protect the integrity of your lettering, make it into a compound path. Also, if you make something in the Silhouette Cameo software with lettering, and it's a font that you have on your computer, but your friend doesn't have on theirs, if you don't make it into a compound path, which makes it into artwork rather than a font, it's going to choose a font on their computer, and it won't be the font that you sent them. Does that make sense? It must be a compound path in order for that font that you used to remain together into the next person's computer. So a compound path makes it into a piece of artwork, and if you'll watch, it's no longer editable as text. So if I double click on this, it just goes into edit mode. I can no longer get that box around it where I can change the font. So make absolutely certain that when you are ready to make it to a compound path, that you've done all the editing in terms of change of fonts, spacing, etc., that you want to do. Okay, so now we've got this, okay? But watch what happens. Once those are compound paths, I can take that circle out of there, and that circle no longer needs to be there. So you can now put a heart in the center and make your stickers to go on the back of your kids' Valentines. I would probably select the whole thing with I call this the rubber band box, up way outside the design, draw a rubber band. It looks kind of like a rubber band all the way around, a select rubber band. And when you do, you can now grab the corner and make it small so that it turns into like maybe a sticker or something like that. But for right now, I'm going to keep it big. Okay, so that's text on a path, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to be able to do text on path. Let me see if there's questions. Hi, Birdie. Hi, Lenora. You like that, huh? That's cool. The software is really pretty powerful. I'm pretty impressed with how powerful the software really is. Now I can delete that circle, and I have a Happy Valentine's Day design that I could save if I want to. I don't have to, but I could save it if I wanted to. And, cut that out. Well, how about we do this? How about I save it, and I make this a free design for the night? How about that? So let's go through the save process. Oops, wait. This has to go. I'm going to cut that and paste it over here. And then we have that goofy little box over there. I don't know what to do with that, so we'll... Oh. So I'm going to put this here and type... Okay, so that's going to come in with your design. I'm going to leave it this size, and I'll save it. And then let's do this. Let's group it up. So you can either go up here to the group icon, okay, or you can go to Object and Group, or you can do like I like to do is right-click and keep my hand in the same place and just group that up. So now you can move it as a group. Okay, so let's go through the save process. I'm going to go to File, Save As, to my hard drive. I'll navigate to where my designs are, and I'll put this in Holly Designs, and I'm just going to save it as Happy Valentine's Facebook, and say OK. So now I have just saved my Silhouette Studio 3 file. That Silhouette Studio 3 file you cannot give or sell or distribute. That's their rules, not mine. They don't like it. It's against their user policies. I've asked them about it. Can't do it. So I don't play with copyright, so don't do it. Next thing you're going to do is File, Save As to hard drive. And it's going to go to the same place, and you'll notice in here somewhere you'll see this. Here, there it is, Happy Valentine's Day. But right down here in this drop-down menu, if you just touch that, it comes up actually, you can choose SVG. Choose SVG. Now it's going to save it as an SVG file. So now that's saved as an SVG file, and I can give that out because I created it. It's mine. I can give the SVG file out. I can't give the studio file out. I don't know why. It's just their policy. Okay, so that's our Valentine. So now I'm going to just click the save icon just one last time because, you know, I'm a belt and suspenders kind of gal. And let's close that. So what else Well, how exciting is that? Okay, so you can see things don't go smoothly for me either. Software just closed itself, all by itself. Has a mind of its own. No problem. Okay. It's all good. Now this box opens up automatically, and what this is this is the autosave, and it's going to autosave for you things that were recent. If you want to reload something, I don't know which one of these. Let's see if this is it. Ah, okay. That's my, and what's this? Oh, that's cool. Okay, so it saved those guys for me. I'm going to close that box. I'm going to go back here. So let's look at a thin font or a thin line and see what we can do with offsets. Offsets are really important, and I believe you can do offsets in the other softwares as well. So let's take the star, just for sake of something. Oops. Let's just take the star, just for sake of something big. When you select the star, you can decide how many points your star has. Okay, so are your creative thoughts going? Think of the flowers you can do and the different things you can do with this. I'm going to do a 5-point star, and then this is going to make it out into a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that's a decadon? Decahedron? What are they called?
Many-sided.
Many-sided thing. Y'all know that math is like my worst subject. Okay, a many-sided thing. So now we're going to make it back into a this kind of sided thing. Okay, so that's, and you can rotate. These shapes are awesome, and the other software has shapes too. So that's not something real special. I don't know how powerful they are yet, but the other softwares have shapes. Okay, so let's talk about offset. What is offset? Offset means if I have a circle, horrible circle. If I have a circle and I want my circle to be just a little bit bigger, I'm going to do an offset, just an offset. It's going to be called just a plain offset. If I want my circle to be smaller, it's going to be called an internal offset. So it just depends on what you want to do. You can do all kinds of things. You can make mandalas. You can do all kinds of really cool things with the offsets and with the lettering. I got a couple more things to show you about lettering, but I want to show you about offsets first. So that's what an offset is. So right now, I'm going to select my star, and I'm going to go right here, amazingly enough, to this star. And the offset box comes up. If I choose offset, watch what happens. Let's undo. You see the offset pop on the outside? At this point, I can increase it, make it bigger, or I can make it smaller. When I say I'm done, I can also make it, flat points or rounded points. When I'm done, that's now there, okay? I can take this one out and say I really like this one instead, or I can say I don't like this at all and get rid of that one. Or I can select them. Now remember what I said about compound path? Compound path, if I right click and make this a compound path, it is now one, and watch what happens. You get a nice outline for any number of things you'd like to do while you're creating. Hey Jude. So compound path is really cool. The good thing is if you do that and you look at that and go, that's not what I expected. I didn't want that. You can just right click and say release that compound path and, make it go away. Or you can just undo. Undo is your friend. Okay, so let's undo and get rid of many times. All right, make it easier. Delete. Okay, let's look at the internal offset. I'm doing this because I want you to understand offset when I go into the lettering, because I know this lesson is on lettering and text. So I'm teaching you offset so that you understand what I'm doing and you go, oh. I bet every one of you I'm going to hear like, oh, all the way through the computer. If I do an internal offset, remember it's on the inside. And see the offset that came in on the inside? You can slide this. But what happens if I do an offset of an offset? That. Or an offset of another offset. Or another one. One more. Now I've got all these offsets. But what am I going to do with them? Well, let's rubber band them. Make a compound path. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that's cool. I should be hearing oohs and ahs right now, but I can't hear y'all. Offset is so much fun to play with. So if you have the Silhouette Cameo software, at least the designer edition, get in there and play with them. Play with them. Play with the text. Mess around with it. Make mistakes. Have fun. Make a mess. That's what it's all about. Okay? Okay, let's do the save again. We're going to File, Save As to hard drive. And we're going to call this star-Facebook and say OK. All right. Then what are we going to do? We're going to back up to File, Save As, and we're going to do it as an SVG because we can't give out the Cameo file. OK. Yes. Can you own the Silhouette software without having a Silhouette? Yes, ma'am, you can. And that's what I'm recommending for you. If you want to make your own designs, I'm recommending whichever cutter you have. It doesn't matter. But if you want more powerful software than what you currently have with either the Cricut or the Brother, go ahead and get the Silhouette software. Cost you for the business full thing for business edition is about $100 at Swing Design. I think it's on sale now. Normally I think it's $149, but it goes on sale many times throughout the year. And just make that go away. I already saved it, so we're good. Okay, let's do a font with thin lettering. So maybe we're going to type, trying to think of a good one here. Oops, maybe I should do my text file first. Let's try this. Okay, being creative. Let me turn my grid back on. I like my grid. I feel lost without my grid. Let's make it bigger right here. And we're going to make this about 200, just because we can. Okay, being creative. So let's say that this font is pretty thin. Let's find a thin font and let's see what we can do with it. How's this one? That one, no. Maybe this one. This is a good one. I think this is a good one. Okay, this is a kind of a thin font. It's not going to cut. It'll cut, but it's not going to be really, really reliable to get it off the paper and everything. But as you can see, it's really close together. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some space between these letters. Go back to my text. Go right down here to character spacing. Let's separate them out. We can always bring them back together. Let's separate them out a bit to give us some space. So now we've got space. So I'm going to select the letters and I'm going to go to that offset. And now I want it just an offset, not an internal offset, just an offset. Okay, you see what happened? Everything got an outline around it. But what I don't like is this over here. This right here. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce my number. Come on. And you see how it's changing? I find that right around a 0.25 is enough to give you enough room. I'm just trying to get this one separated. Okay, the eyes may or may not be separated. Now, 0.25 is generally enough to give you just a little more weight for cutting. So I'm going to say apply that. And it did it because you see all of the little boxes. And I'm going to pull out the old one. Now you can see it's a little bit thicker. Not a lot, it's a little bit thicker. But you can do this with all kinds of things. I'm going to make this a compound path. Why? Because now it becomes artwork. And come up here, and there's our being creative. Now if we don't like the spacing at this point, let's release the compound. See what happens here? This is the biggest reason you do compound path. If I group this, watch what happens. It stays the same. It doesn't do what you want it to do. So compound path takes shapes and makes them into one. It makes them one. So this guy here we can get rid of. And let's look at our letters now. Okay, so we can individually move these letters. So I'm going to touch the E and just with my arrow keys. If I use my arrow key to the left, I can move those right where I want them. You can do more than one, but when you're doing, words like this, you might want to do them individually. And then, however it looks to you, it's not important what anybody else thinks. It's important what you think. You're creating. Creation is in the eyes of the beholder. It's like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Creation, creativeness and the beauty of creation is in the eyes of the creator. Somebody else doesn't like it. Well, maybe that's their problem, not yours. I don't mean to be rude, but some of us get really attached to our creations. I've had experiences where people are very, very attached to their creations, and you really want to be careful what you say. I'm not so creative. I'm not so attached. Now, if I hold my arrow key down, it'll go faster, but then it gets ahead of you. So, kind of have to back it up a little bit. There are some things about the software that aren't perfect, but it really is, pretty darn close. I wonder if I hold the Shift key. No, that doesn't work. I was wondering if I held the Shift key, if I could move it on the same line, like keep it constant on the same line. But no, we're not that advanced yet. Okay, see how it got ahead of me because I held the key down? So I have to wait for it to stop. Good grief. Okay. Here's the other thing you can do. If you have to do that, select two of them and go over here to your alignment. And then you'll align to the bottom, and you'll align horizontally to horizontal space. Okay, so now we have being creative, and we have added an offset to make it easier and cut and more consistent to cut. One thing I would do is I would move that up a bit, because there's not a lot of room for that to cut. And you'll learn that as you're creating things, what's going to cut well, what isn't going to cut well. It's like embroidery, what's going to digitize well, but what's really going to sew well. And this is exactly the same thing. Okay, comments. You have to enter the serial number for the free software. But if you just go buy the Silhouette software, Studio software, you shouldn't have to put in any kind of serial number in. That's just to register it to your machine. I believe you can buy the software without anything. I'll check on that. But that would be weird if they made you buy that. Okay. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you, girlfriend. Hey, Margie. I won't call you Maggie. It's always Margie. Okay. What else would you like to know it does? Software does all kinds of really, really cool, powerful things. One thing that I was practicing with today was this. And if you all want to know how to do this, I can do a video on that and teach you how to do it with different shapes and different things and different fonts. That would be kind of a fun video to do. But you can do all the alignment things you need to do. Everything you need to do with text, you can do. Here's one thing you might want to do. Here's one thing you definitely might want to do. Here's one thing you might want to do. If I go and find my, remember the graduation cap we did? If I find my graduation cap, maybe you want to do a graduation card for someone. You know, maybe you want to do that. So we can take our lettering and do, whoops, I can't spell. Wow. Congratulations. Maybe you want to do congratulations over the hat. Let's put a, whoops. Let's put a circle around it. If you hold the Shift key, you get a perfect circle. Okay. So now I can draw a rubber band box around both of these, come over here and say, center them on one another. See how it centered it? Okay. Now I can take this and put that right there. You maybe put their name underneath it. I'll select this, maybe, make it a compound path, and now this circle can go away, and you have a gift, part of a card for someone who's graduating. Very simple, very easy. Fun software. It's so much fun to do text. Hey, Linda. So, what types of things would you like to see? Here's your question for the day. Here's your question for the day. What types of designs and or text things would you like to see on Artistic Cutworks? Always looking for ideas. What kinds of things, designs, or text designs would you like to see on Artistic Cutworks? Everybody loves to have things on their shirts and their hats and that kind of stuff. So I'm asking, you tell me what you want. You guys that come to the videos, the videos are, as I said, are kind of like my board of directors. You're my probably biggest supporters, so I want to give you what you want. Anything else you want to know about lettering? There's a lot more. There's a ton more that you probably want to know. But if there's something specific you want to know, I want to take the time right now to do that. While I'm waiting for you to answer that, I'm going to go back to the software and go here. Let's type summer fun. Why did I pick that? I don't know. I don't know. And let's use avocados and make it that size. And make it yellow. Okay? So now we have this text, and you can see right here, let me make this bigger. You can see right here where if this were to cut, what's going to happen is your cutter is going to come in and it's going to cut, well, let me use red. Cutter's going to cut right here and right here. So what does that mean? That means your letters are going to be all schmucked up, all schmucky. So that's what's going to happen. So how do we prevent that type of thing from happening? Very simple. Get it in view. We're going to select it. We're going to go here and we're going to say weld. Now look what happened. All of that stuff is gone. All of that stuff where it was going to cut is completely gone. So now you're going to have a nice, smooth, clean cutting design. Another thing you can do, I find that when I generate designs, I make designs, I tend to get a lot of extra nodes. Every one of those nodes is reading to cut. And the more nodes you have, the more time it takes to cut because it's ciphering everything out. So I'm going to go right here to edit. And you see all these nodes. There might not be too many extra ones. But this one right here, if I click that, did you see what happened? Let's go back. Watch right here and right here when I click that. Do you see how much more simple this design got? The reason it got simple is because I simplified what it has to read. Okay, last thing, real quick. I know I'm running out of time. Larry's like, speed it up, woman. Okay, if I go down here, this is a feature of the business edition. This is the warp. I'm going to select the warp design. Now you're going to say, well, what's this all about? Well, the fun is just beginning. If I grab these guys, I can do anything I want, to them to make any kind of lettering I want to make. So I just took a plain old font and did that with it. This is probably the most powerful text tool in this software, is this warp. And you can do it with different things, make different shapes like this for monogramming. Very cool feature. And then that conical warp. We're going to do some more of this, but I think this is a pretty cool feature. Okay, let me look one more time. Long video, but you know, when I'm doing something I love, I kind of get carried away. Okay, very cool. Long video, but that's okay. There's a lot of stuff in the software, and I get carried away when I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about and that I love and that I just want to share with you. So Larry's like going, wrap it up, girlfriend. Okay, that's all I have for you tonight. Thanks everyone for sharing this time with me. I will see you sometime tomorrow. It may be pre-recorded. Oh, 3 o'clock, Larry says, 3 o'clock. I'll see you at 3 o'clock. We have our weekly date night tomorrow, so it won't be an evening night. So I'll see you at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Have a great evening. I hope you learned something. Good night, everyone.